This is Rock and Roll English. Real people, real English. Here's your host, Martin Johnston.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll English, episode number 285, baby. Oh yeah, we are getting closer to episode 300, aren't we? What am I going to do for episode 300? I've got no idea, so if you have any ideas, let me know. Anyway, in today's episode, I speak to the Hellraiser about British politics, as it's something that's been in the news recently a few times, hasn't it? And in this episode, particularly, we speak about British prime ministers. Then in the family episodes, we continue talking about British politics in general, especially since Brexit, that wonderful thing that happened a few years ago, and how everything's been so perfect since Brexit. And of course, some not safe for the public R&R stories in the family episodes. So like usual, this conversation finishes after 20 minutes and continues in the family area. Family membership is now open until further notice, okay? Because it's just getting a bit confusing for me to open close. So if you would like to become a member and listen to all of this episode plus 1,000 other episodes that have not been heard in the public and lots of other wonderful things, go to rockandrollenglish.com and become a member. Other big news is my Fluency via Pronunciation and Storytelling course, which starts again next week, next Monday and next Tuesday. Now, the first course was a huge success. I had great feedback, and now the course is bigger and better. There are 24 places available on the courses in total. 8 have already been taken, so if you would like to join the course, go to rockandrollenglish.com/fluency. Just remember as well, this could, I repeat, could be the last time I run the course live, because soon it will be a digital course. So if you would like me as your teacher for the next 7 weeks, you know what to do. You also have until midnight tonight to have a €50 discount, okay? If you would like that €50 discount, you just need to contact me and say the word action in the message, because I want to see you are motivated. But anyway, on to today's pod. There are a few names of people we talk about on the episode. Politicians, obviously. Now, luckily, you don't really need to know who they are because we just talk about their appearance and other things. But there is one person in particular we speak about. Ed Balls. That's right, balls. Like the thing footballers kick and the things that, balls. I will say no more about this. Just listen to the episode. I will talk to you all again at the end. Happy listening. Hellraiser, how are you today?
Wonderful, mate. How are you?
Always fantastic. Always fantastic. Even though we did start a few minutes late, didn't we? Because you text me saying you were having a ham and cheese sandwich. Was it a good sandwich?
It was great. It kind of linked in quite well because you were taking a shit, weren't you? So you messaged me and you said you were going to be late because your poo had overrun. Time-wise, I hope, not consistency.
It hadn't overrun. It was just not planned for because I had a lesson finishing at the exact time we were supposed to be meeting. This is the problem with online teaching. You do your slots like 10 till 11 and then you're the 11 till 12 slot. So you don't have time for a changeover. And then if a shit comes, you don't put that in the calendar before. They just come out of nowhere.
Well, you've got to schedule a bit of time for shits, haven't you? Shits and giggles. It's like a 10-minute buffer.
Yeah, so nice word there, buffer, like just a space there. But you can't do that after every lesson, can you? Because you don't know when it's going to come. This is the problem with poos. They just come out of nowhere.
They don't. I normally get some kind of warning. Otherwise, how many times a day do you have to change your trousers if this is happening to you? That is
Well,
concerning, mate.
yeah, but you don't get a warning the day before when you're planning your day, do you? You don't get a warning that you need to go to do a poo the day before.
But do you not normally have clockwork? Like maybe maybe you have one at 8, and the next one probably roll in about 11:30, and then your evening one.
That is strange because when I had a 9 to 5 office job, it was like clockwork every day, 11 o'clock in the morning, go to the toilet to do my business. But now I live a kind of rock and roll lifestyle, self-employed, don't really put on any proper clothes all day, wear the same clothes, jogging bottoms and a zip up hoodie. I just change t-shirt and pants really, and socks. Then you find your shits don't have that regular flow to them anymore. It's a strange thing.
I'm going to be honest with you, that sounds more vagrant than rock and roll, but...
You're going to have to explain what vagrant means to the listeners and to me there, Hellraiser. It's more than 2 syllables.
I mean, you just explained it, your life of not getting dressed, going from place to place, just down and out. Let's call it that.
Down and out, right, okay, nice. Like, not good, let's say.
You just don't care. You just don't care about yourself. You've lost all meaning in life.
This comes up on most podcasts that we record together, doesn't it, Hellraiser? Yes, okay, I have lost hope of life. I am depressed, okay? So let's now move on to the podcast, okay?
Okay.
That's why I always say I'm always fantastic at the beginning of the pod. It's like, like pep talk to myself. So like a pep talk to motivate yourself for the podcast and for life in general. I wake up in the morning, the first thing I say is, I'm fantastic.
Was it in your breakfast out of a bean can?
Yeah, exactly. I just keep saying it. I'm fantastic. I'm fantastic.
That's
I'm
good,
fantastic.
Man. It's good affirmations. I like it.
Yeah, another nice word, affirmations. So something you repeat to yourself to really believe it. So, yes, reviews. Do you think we have a review?
Yeah, why not?
We are running towards the end now, people, so please start leaving them. Yeah, we do a Facebook one, and it's from Bao Nguyen.
Sorry, say that again?
I don't even know if this person will actually recognise this is the review that he left because my pronunciation is so bad. So, yeah, simple, Bao Nguyen, and it's a Facebook review, always good. And it says, great podcast about British English and culture. You are awesome. Keep on rocking, Martin. Beautiful. That's how easy it is to leave a review. Just 2 lines, 5 stars, whatever platform. Boom shakalaka.
Culture's a bit loose. We just spent like 5 minutes talking about shit. So that's not all British culture's about. Just there's other stuff out there. Don't rely on us for your cultural intake.
Yeah, good point. Although that is still a large part of certainly culture in my eyes. That's what because I like
Agreed.
to talk about it a lot. So on to today's pod, finally starting. Obviously you don't know what we're talking about, Hellraiser. It's been a surprise. Are you excited?
Very, yeah. Couldn't sleep last night.
I can imagine. So we are talking about a very hot topic. Like you just mentioned, we talk about culture, hard-hitting topics. So we're talking about British politics today, okay?
Great.
So how much do you know about politics from 0 to 10?
I know it's been going pretty well for British politics just in general recently.
Really well.
It's been going pretty well. I think that if anything, it's just that cemented the British image abroad, which is just one of like pure organisation, efficiency, good decisions, and good people at the top.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to describe it. So yeah, we're going to talk about this now. I think as you mentioned earlier, when you gave that warning about culture, I don't have much idea what I'm talking about, but that's never stopped me making podcasts and talking about things in the past. So we'll be fine. I did read a couple of books about politics a few years ago, And I honestly thought after those 2 books that I read, I was like Karl Marx. I thought like this, like you come to me, and even when I was reading the book, this was actually before Mrs. R&R, and I just remember thinking, God, if someone saw me now just sitting in my apartment on my own, reading a book about politics, they would just think, look how fucking cool that guy is.
You know, you are aware that Noel Gallagher's autobiography isn't a book about politics. That's the only book that I know that you've read.
I actually haven't even read that, FYI. I don't even know if he has one. So Noel Gallagher being the lead singer. No, sorry, one of the brothers from Oasis. No, it was proper about politics.
What was it called?
It was called The Establishment. Okay.
Oh, I've actually got that. Yeah.
Sure. Have you read it?
No.
Well, I have. So I'm more intelligent than you, okay? I did actually read once, you should always read a book which, if you were to die in the middle of reading it, would make you look cool, okay? So just always bear that in mind when you're reading a book. You could die in the middle of it, and just make sure you look cool.
All right. Okay, I'll bear that in mind.
So I thought we could start by going through some British prime ministers, okay, and then talk about some of the things that have happened in the last few years. So let's go back to like just before we were born, of the Iron Lady, Magaret Thatcher.
Yes.
So yeah, she was good. So let's go to the next one now.
Let's move on. Yep.
So as I mentioned, I don't know that much about politics, but I do know that she put the working man on the street. And I know that because my granddad, my dad's dad, every time her name was mentioned, I just saw his face go red. And then he would start pointing at me like I was Magaret Thatcher and saying, she put the working man on the street. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry.
You do have a fairly similar haircut to her, actually, to the Iron Lady. Maybe that's where he was like, his sight was maybe not at its best, and he was. You've got a bit of Maggie about you.
Yeah. Fashion icon of mine. Someone I have always admired and tried to base my style on is Maggie Thatcher. So that's enough of Maggie. Then we moved on to John Major. That's correct pronunciation, yeah?
John Major, yep. Very, very reminiscent of one of our friends and a person on the podcast, Corporal Coma. They do. He's got very major vibes.
I almost knew you would say that. But when I was a kid, he was the first Prime Minister I remember. And he's the type of person I thought, I kind of trust him. He's got glasses. He looks pretty boring. A kind of what could be described as a steady Eddie. I don't know why we use this term. Just someone that is not going to do anything stupid. Just nice and steady. Steady Eddie.
Yeah, you think that. Didn't he end up having some kind of wild affair with someone in his office? I remember when that came out in the newspapers. It was just disgusting.
Correct. Yeah, I have done my research. Edwina Curry, and she described him apparently as a sexy beast. Now,
see, that's where him and Corporal Coma differ. That is a big change.
Even John Major, and maybe for younger listeners, go and find a picture of him on Google, does not strike me as a sexy beast. If
you
there's
don't
anything,
know you don't know what was underneath that suit, though, do you? None of us do.
A good point. Once he's in that bedroom, lights are off, he maybe just becomes a beast, a sexy beast, not just the normal one, a sexy one.
Unbutton his pajama top. Put his wide-rimmed glasses on the bedside table. You don't know what's coming next. He's after you.
Well, maybe he keeps the glasses on during the job. I don't know.
Could do. Maybe put them on a Edwina. Who knows? We don't know.
Actually, I luckily don't have problems with my eyes. You wear glasses, Hilary. Do you keep glasses on just so you can see everything? What's it like? Can you not see things? You just touching stuff and you don't know what it is? How does it work?
What I normally do just for safekeeping is keep them on my head, but turn them around so they're on the other side. So in case of any emergencies, I can quickly flip them around again.
Good idea.
Yeah,
Good idea.
It's pretty smart.
I like it. Very nice. So, okay, that's major. So then we moved to Tony Blair, which obviously this, for us, we were kind of like 13 at the time. It was like New Labour. It felt like a new thing was happening in Britain. There was Britpop music. It felt like a whole new generation. It felt so exciting, didn't it, Hellraiser?
Revolutionary. That was the beginning of Britpop, wasn't it? Blur versus Oasis.
All of that as well.
D Reams. Things can only get better. You can cut and play that there if you want, just to seamless.
Yeah, and it really did fit the time of things could only get better. But unfortunately, it got worse because he turned out to be a bit of an idiot. But his right-hand man, so his kind of assistant, well, one of, I remember you always mentioning because his name was Ed Balls. Do you remember that, Hellraiser? And you constantly just talking about it and finding it the most hilarious thing in the world. It is a crazy surname, Balls.
I mean, we're nearly 20 years down the line, and that's still funny. So I've got no regrets. Who has that kind of name? Change your name. If you're going to be in the public eye, you're just asking for it. Yeah.
So Ed, short for Edward, and Balls. I mean, that can mean whatever you want, really, can't it? But yeah. So he gets letters to his house, Mr. Balls, and his wife, I imagine, has taken his surname, Mrs. Balls. So
at Christmas probably the Balls.
Yeah, to the Balls.
Dear Balls. You see, it's classic. It's timeless. It's never going to get old.
Absolutely timeless. And then, so we moved to Gordon Brown. It was kind of back to boring, kind of like John Major kind of thing again. But one of his greatest moments, in my opinion, was he was doing something politicians do. They go out and meet people. And he was talking to a woman, and he was like all polite and said, "Thanks, yeah, lovely to meet you." And then he got in the car, but didn't realise his microphone was still on. And the first thing he says was, "That was a disaster. I don't know why they made me talk to that woman."
Oh yeah, that was classic. I remember that. That is good. It's always good when politicians fuck up. Do you remember when I think it was around the same time that Big Johnny Prescott was walking through a town, and then someone egged him from close range, and then he just
threw an egg on him to be egged. Yeah, throw an egg on someone.
And then he immediately just left hooked them straight in the face.
So yeah, left hook being a punch to the face. Yeah, and he got a lot of support for that. If someone throws an egg at you, they deserve to be punched. So I gave him my full support.
Did you? Have you been egged? You must have been egged.
I have been egged on our last day of school. I egged quite a few people, and then someone egged me. Someone got me right at the end of the day. But if you play the game, you've got to take it, Hellraiser. So I didn't punch the guy who egged me. He was also a lot bigger than me, so I didn't risk it, let's say. But otherwise, I would have done.
Yeah, live by the egg, die by the egg.
Yeah, that's another thing that I repeat to myself in the morning after I'm fantastic. Live by the egg, die by the egg. Yeah. Then we moved on to David Cameron. And again, very much looked like a kind of steady Eddie, but he was the one that caused all of the problems. He was the one that said, like, this would be a good idea. Let's have a vote to leave the European Union, which is kind of where the shit hit the fan, let's say, where everything just started going tits up. let's say. So tits up is a nice term to say very badly. Very badly.
Lovely term.
Yeah. I don't know why tits up. It really has no sense, does it? But
tits down would be more appropriate. I don't know.
I just don't understand why the preposition is needed there. Just tits up. But
why isn't it balls up? Balls up would be weirder than tits up, I think. More uncomfortable.
Certainly more uncomfortable for Ed Balls, wouldn't it? But just be another stick to beat him with, another one to hit him with.
Hit his balls with.
We could have just made a whole podcast about Ed Balls, really, couldn't we?
We should do that next time. I think it would be... Maybe we could move that into the family chat. Those lucky family listeners.
Absolutely. And then we moved to Theresa May.
Oh.
Which didn't really work out for her, did it? I suppose her most famous thing was her dance moves, which were very cringeworthy, weren't they? So you look and you kind of think, oh.
I just don't understand why. I've never seen any politician who has got like any element of like cool about them at all. British, certainly British.
It's a good point, actually, that none of them have got much rhythm. Not that I have. I just want to underline this now, but they certainly seem to be missing it. So to be dancing in public was a risk, which didn't work out. Although I did see one tweet, which I thought was hilarious, which said, "You may be laughing at Theresa May's dancing, but in a post-Brexit apocalypse, now where the world is ending, this will be the new Macarena." So or is it the Macarena we say? I don't know. The Spanish one, Don't wanna hear Macarena. I don't wanna hear Macarena.
I knew it before you started singing it, so thanks.
My Spanish, I think, was just perfect there as well, wasn't it?
That was spot on. Yeah, really on point.
Absolutely perfect. And then we moved to Boris, which we've actually done podcasts about him. I don't even think it's worth starting, but and then there was Liz Truss. She wasn't actually Prime Minister long enough for me to find out how to correctly pronounce the name. How is it?
Truss,
right? Okay. So yeah, now obviously she also has highly embarrassed herself, especially with this thing about the lettuce. Have you seen this?
No, what's that?
So apparently The Economist magazine, this is where it started, on the 11th of October, dubbed Mrs. Truss, called her the iceberg lady. Okay, iceberg, a type of lettuce, and predicted her career would have the shelf life of a lettuce. Okay, so that she wouldn't last as long. So then obviously one of our fantastic newspapers, the Daily Star, decided to buy a lettuce and put a live webcam of this lettuce and actually gave it a wig as well and some eyes, and to see who would last longer, so which would basically go first. And it was the Prime Minister. It was Liz Truss that went first.
That is hilarious. That's too good.
The thing that I really don't understand is that apparently, because there was a webcam on this lettuce, sometimes there were more than 20,000 people watching it. Now, what are you doing if you're watching that?
What? Just see what happens, aren't you? Just seeing if the lettuce does in fact survive. And how many people are watching at the end? What's the total viewership?
I don't know. I don't know, but so there were some gags as well, some jokes saying let us rejoice. So rejoice, be happy, and Truss sunk by an iceberg.
This is one thing that with all of the enormous shitstorm, at least we can be proud of the Great British Press coming up with that kind of gag. So good.
But yeah, that's true. But obviously around the world, they obviously were looking at this a bit strange. Apparently in America, there was a headline saying, why is Britain comparing its Prime Minister to a lettuce? Which is a very valid question. Okay, so we are going to continue this episode in the family area. So if you want to listen to all of it, remember you just need to become a member. So go to the website, click become a member. So on to the vocabulary. I also have some R&R pronunciation for you today, R&R pron, which I'm going to start doing a bit more now that I know what I'm talking about with pronunciation, because before I didn't, and that's the problem with most teachers. They don't actually know anything about it. So just one quick little clip from today. Listen to how I said this. I can imagine. So obviously there I said I can imagine, but notice how the word can becomes can, and also the word imagine becomes nimagine, because the N of can has linked to the word imagine. I can imagine. Did you notice? These are just a couple of things that we study in my new course, Fluency via Pronunciation and Storytelling, because it will also help you become a better listener. Anyway, on to today's vocab. We had the term overrun because we spoke about my poo, which overran. So when something overruns, it goes on for longer than you had expected. We had the word buffer. Now you can use this for videos when a video is buffering, so a video is basically loading, or as a 10-minute buffer between poo and next lesson, like a 10-minute extra space, let's say. We spoke about having poos like clockwork, like they come at the same time every day. You can set your watch by them. I spoke about my clothes, and I spoke about jogging bottoms, which, you know, a pair of Adidas jogging bottoms, like tracksuit bottoms. Casual ones that you wear around the house, not to weddings. The Hellraiser also used a word I didn't know, even though it is actually only 2 syllables. Vagrant, which is a person that has no house, let's say. Someone that kind of lives on the street. Vagrant. And he spoke about me and said I seem down and out. So if you are down and out, you've kind of just given up hope. I spoke about a pep talk I give myself. Now, pep talk is something like, yes, I can do this. I'm the best. I'm strong. I'm intelligent. That's giving yourself a pep talk. And also affirmations. It's the same. These positive statements are affirmations. The Hellraiser said about the review we received, the word culture, that we talk about culture, is a bit loose. It's not really exactly what we do here at Rock and Roll English. So that's a nice term. It's a bit loose, not really the exact things we do. We spoke about hard-hitting topics, the big important things we talk about. We also briefly mentioned a steady Eddie. I don't know why we use the term Eddie, probably because it rhymes with steady, but someone that is steady, a nice steady Eddie. The Hellraiser spoke about John Major unbuttoning his pyjama top. So when you unbutton it, you're wearing pyjamas, you take them off, you need to unbutton them. Notice that verb, to unbutton buttons. But obviously you don't want to repeat the word buttons. We spoke about getting egged when someone throws eggs at you, a left hook, a left punch. We had when the shit hit the fan, that's when things go really badly, like going tits up. Going really badly, like we spoke about as well. We said how the ex-Prime Minister Liz Truss was dubbed the Iceberg Lady. So was given the name, and that she had the shelf life of a lettuce. A nice term there. Think about at the supermarket how long something can stay on the shelf for. That is known as the shelf life. And then we had some hilarious gags, some hilarious jokes like let us rejoice. Rejoice, be happy. So that's my message for you today. Be happy. Just think about Ed balls before you go to bed, and I promise you will be happy. Thanks a lot for listening, everyone. I will talk to you all very soon, but in the meantime, just keep on rocking, baby.
Thanks so much for listening to Rock and Roll English. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit rockandrollenglish.com and facebook.com/rockandrollenglish. We'll catch you next time.